Oh, what's up, everybody? I'm Matt Gary, and on this 5th episode of the Separation of Concern and Apex Common tutorial series, we're going to go over the unit of work design pattern and how it fits in to both of those things. Alright guys, so welcome to the 5th episode of this tutorial series I'm making over the Separation of Concerns design principle in the Apex Common library, and kind of how they work together, and making it a lot easier in Salesforce instances to hopefully get Separation of Concerns implemented, and if you want to, use the Apex Common library to do that. That part's optional though. All right, so what we're going to go over in this episode is the unit of work pattern. What is it? Why would you care to use it? All of those things. So, as far as, I guess we'll just get started the way that I always get started, right? Why would you care to learn about the unit of work pattern? Well, there's two reasons, really. The first one is the unit of work pattern. Basically, its whole purpose is to kind of like encapsulate all of your DML operations or all of your database transactions into one unit of work and execute them all at the exact same time. So, the benefits of that are, number one, you're doing really as few transactions as possible for DML statements, which is good because there are limits around those things, and the better we can deal with that stuff, the better things are overall. And additionally, there's think about all of the places in your code where you insert stuff, right? You insert records or update them or delete them or whatever else. There could be thousands of places in your code base that are doing that. And it's very possible that unless you're using something like a unit of work pattern, something close to it anyway, to handle those transactions, that they're all being handled in different ways. Maybe sometimes when you insert, you're doing error handling, and sometimes you're not. Maybe sometimes when you do updates, you log errors, and sometimes you don't. Well, that's not exactly ideal, right? Another thing is maybe sometimes you use transaction management and sometimes you don't. That's the save point rollbacks and stuff like that. It's not exactly ideal if every single place in your code has different transactional management, right? Or different error handling or whatever else. That makes it really hard to upkeep because you got to go to those 300-400 places in your code base and change them every single time that you want to change something, around those things, error handling, whatever else. So ideally, you kind of use this pattern to more or less encapsulate all of that and to, basically make it consistent throughout your org. So those are the two main reasons. Or two biggest benefits, I guess, you get from using the unit of work design pattern. Number one, you do all your transactions at once. So you kind of like make a list of the things that you want to insert or update along the way. And then you do all of those transactions at the exact same time. The second thing is you get a whole lot of consistency with the way that you're doing those DML transactions, those database inserts, updates, deletes, etc., which in turn reduces code, among other things, right? The last thing is that it helps with mocking. You kind of need a unit of work type setup to be able to mock things in test classes, and we'll get to that aspect of things quite a bit later in this series, but we'll get there. Just know that it's important to have this layer, I guess, to be able to do mocking well. So now that we've gone over the, what and why, I guess, of the unit of work pattern, why you'd want to use it, what its benefits are, let's kind of take a look at a couple of examples. So here's a really simple example of a class that has no unit of work. And you can see, that in this, basically we've got a couple methods. One that inserts cases, one that updates cases. And in the insert case method, we actually insert our case, and we, basically, if something goes wrong here, we actually have try catch to catch the error and potentially log an error if I had an error logging framework set up, and throw an exception. But down here where we update cases, we use the database update method, and just if something fails, it's fine, right? Number one, we don't have any try catch block set in place, and we're accepting of the fact that some of these cases will update and some of them won't. That's what this all or nothing false parameter is. So we got a lot of inconsistency here just like immediately right off the bat, right? We got two different implementations of how we would like to handle our DML transactions, and that's not great. Over time, your code base is going to grow. If you don't have a unit of work, you're going to have hundreds of permutations of this throughout the code, and the more that happens, the worse the situation is. Like, what if I have another class that inserts opportunities and it logs an error in a totally different way, or it throws exceptions in a weird way that everywhere else doesn't, or what if I set save points in some classes and I don't in others? Another thing that's really beneficial about the unit of work design pattern is that you get to, like I said before, ideally in your unit of work, you are basically logging every database transaction you'd like to make before you truly make them all. So what that means is, say for instance in this update cases method, I want to update these cases, and then I also want to do a database dot insert, and I want to insert a bunch of, contacts for cases, right? Obviously I haven't actually made these contacts or anything, but just pretend for a moment that, somewhere in here I've created contacts for these cases. Actually, I'd probably have done that before this update. Okay, so pretend I've written code to create contacts for these cases. And I'm updating these cases here, and then I'm inserting the contacts for the cases here. Or really, this would also be in reverse. It pays to think in advance. So basically, we're inserting all of our contacts for cases, and then we're going to update our cases, right? And link those contacts to the cases. That's theoretically, if I wrote the code, that's what it'd be doing. So what happens if, this is successful, but this fails? There's nothing that's going to undo this right now, right? There's nothing, right? Because this can partially succeed, and this, if it's successful, is just going to roll on. So there's no way to roll. There is a way, but right now in the code, there's nothing that's rolling back that transaction. There's nothing that's saying, hey, my update down here failed. Please roll back my code, right? And in reality, you probably would want to do that. So the fact that the unit of work pattern grabs all of those transactions and kind of aggregates them into one place, and then when you commit the work, it commits every single one of those, or does every single one of those DML statements at the same time, basically. It makes it easier for that transactional management to be done, I suppose. Anyway, so basically, you get two major benefits, which we've kind of illustrated here. One, all of your DML transactions, error logging, exception handling, all get to live in one place that you can maintain and deal with in that one place over time. This can save you literally hundreds, if not thousands of lines, probably hundreds, but if you're a huge org, potentially thousands of lines of code over time. The other thing is it makes it easier to handle the transactions in the case that something fails to insert and you want to roll back, right? Because you're doing all the transactions in the same kind of in the same moment, it's easier to roll them back in time. So let's just look. We're going to go over this more in detail in the next episode, but let's just look at the Apex Common unit of work and how it handles these things. So real quick, I know I've looked at this example quite a bit, but in this task service implementation class, we've got this unit of work that we've set up here. And this unit of work is basically an instance of this fflib object unit of work. Again, we'll go over this class a bit more in the next episode, but over here we're setting up our unit of work. We are passing that unit of work here to our create tasks method in our domain class. Then over here in our domain class, we're taking that unit of work that was passed and registering a new list. I don't really know why I returned this unit of work. I don't actually have to, but you know, I guess when you're up working on these things long enough, you make silly mistakes. Anyway, so basically it registers this new unit of work, and then when we get back here to the task service implementation class, we commit the unit of work, right? So let's just see, you know, when you call this commit work, what is actually occurring in the class. So if we look for the commit work method down here, you can see it's handling a bunch of stuff. Number one, it's setting a save point. Number two, it's calling this do commit work, which does quite a few things. And in the event that do commit work fails for one reason or another, then we are going to catch that problem and roll back our basically our database transactions, right? So if you've never used a save point rollback, basically it just says, hey, I'm going to set this save point at this moment of time before my transactions take place. In the event that things go south, I can use database rollback and pass in my save point to roll back to that earlier state in time. That way you don't have contacts that exist without the cases that were supposed to exist with them. So again, in here it calls this do commit work class, and in the do commit work class it does a bunch of steps, but more or less what it ends up doing, if we break it down to the simplest aspects, is it ends up going through your list of objects and doing the inserts, the updates, anything else you want to do or need to do, all in this one transaction, right? So you get a lot of stuff encapsulated in this one class, and you only have to come to this one unit of work class to update them if you need to. So there are also other things you can do to make this class operate in a different fashion, but we'll go over that in the next episode. I don't want to get too far down the line here. So as you can see, kind of, I hope, without a unit of work, you can have a lot of inconsistencies with how you handle DML transactions. With the unit of work class, again, it doesn't have to be Apex common. There are other unit of work libraries out there, or frameworks for Apex, but a unit of work class in general helps to encapsulate all that logic into one place and make sure that your transaction management and your whatever else is done in the way that you want it to be, error handling, things like that, all those things are done in the way that you want it to be done, right? For everything. So there's consistency for every single transaction you make in your system. Okay, hopefully that wasn't too confusing. Key points. Reduces code, makes DML transactions consistent, makes sure your rollbacks are consistent as well, because you're doing all the transactions at the same time. So, all right, I think that is it, I hope. In the next episode, we're going to go over this class that we were looking at, the fflib_object unit of work class, how it works, and how you can leverage it to be a unit of work for you if you want it to be. All right, guys, that's it. I will see you next time.